they asked me, I want to open a cafe. I want to retire from my job and open a cafe. And I said, you're definitely not retiring. You're ramping up.
How hilarious is that?
Yeah. And then they go, oh, how hard could it be? I'll just do this. I'll just get a barista and and I said, you're not just doing anything, they don't understand the difficulty in it. Because I say exactly that. This is what it costs for a coffee. And then they realize that they haven't done the calculation, so there's this misconception that hospitality, opening a cafe or restaurant, especially a cafe, is the way out of something else. And they're the wrong ones that are doing that, because they don't calculate anything or the costs. They only see how busy we are. They don't see that what's going out as well.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop, It's Time to Become a Coffee Consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 1 of a brand new 5-part series that I am crazy excited to get to you. Why? Because I have been trying for years, literally years, to get Carol Salloum on the podcast. Carol, welcome to the podcast for the first time.
Thanks, Lee. Great to be here finally.
You say that like I'm the one who was stopping this from happening. Folks,
I've been avoiding it.
She has been avoiding it. Folks, you will maybe not have heard the name specifically Carol Salloum. You will have heard me talk about Almond Bar. You will have heard me talk about Three Tomatoes. You will have heard me talk about Sharon and Carol Salloum. This is Carol Salloum. And the reason that I want to have Carol on the podcast this week is for a lot of reasons, but mainly because this year what we're doing is we're trying to give you the perspective of the coffee industry from people who are really living it all over the world. And in this series, we're going to be talking about 2025 from the perspective of a cafe owner in Australia who runs a very successful neighbourhood cafe. So for those of you who have been hearing me talk about there's no money in coffee and businesses aren't being run well and blah, 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 this is the opposite of that. Carol and Sharon have been running my favourite restaurant in Sydney, Almond Bar, which is now closed down, world famous. Everybody who goes and is a part of the foodie scene in Australia knows about Almond Bar. And it was started and run by this fabulous woman and her sister, and we can't forget Tony. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to Sharon and to Tony. And then when that closed down, Three Tomatoes became the project. And Three Tomatoes is a neighbourhood cafe in Sydney, Australia that is much beloved by the local community. And so the basis of this series is how is somebody who is running a successful cafe looking at 2025? So, Carol, welcome. Very, very happy to have you here. And I just want to say from the onset, in case you folks out there didn't pick up what I was putting down, Carol, I'm crazy proud to be your friend, to be somebody who watched you build these businesses with Sharon over the years. It's just the success story that everybody wants to see happen. And you didn't lie about any of what you were doing. You were always open about how hard it was. It's honest what you're doing in the sense that the food is honest and real. The coffee is honest and real. You're not pretending to be something that you're not. Your customers love you. Your staff love you. Your suppliers love working with you. None of that comes from being an asshole.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So can you tell people a little bit about Three Tomatoes and about your journey to get here?
Yeah. So Three Tomatoes has been running now for 7 years now. So we had about 3.5 years where we were running both the restaurant and the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was hard because it was day and night. But, I don't know how we did it, but we did it. And Three Tomatoes, it's literally in the middle of homes. So there's retail around us except a little tart shop next door. And we just really are connected to the locals. It's got a great reputation because we basically make sure that consistency is good in the coffee, the food, and the service. So the three, the trinity of hospitality.
Yeah.
So it's like people come in and they feel like they're at home. That's what they tell us. They feel like they're coming to visit family. And, to go from a restaurant, so Almond Bar was started 18 years ago, and it was a totally different setup, of course, being a restaurant with alcohol, a lot of alcohol, and different way of operating, I suppose, where customers don't come every day. They're not as regular. So you still have a connection, but it's not the same kind of quick connection that you get in a cafe. Three Tomatoes, it sits on a corner. It's got beautiful trees outside, and people love it. They love it. They love coming in. We have people that just come in because they feel that that's their only interaction with people is to talk to us, because a lot of people are working from home.
How in this episode specifically throughout the series, we're going to talk about the landscape of the coffee industry from your perspective as an owner running a successful neighbourhood cafe. Talk to us about the difference between a neighbourhood cafe and, let's say, one that's run in the city or downtown, as some people might think of it. They're very different business models. They're very different in the way that people approach them. So how are those two business models different?
Okay, so you probably remember a few years ago we did have one in the city. We had a little coffee shop in the city, and there are two differences. One is that you have to, in the city, there's a lot more competition. So your prices have to be competitive. So lower prices, especially for coffee. And also you didn't have the same kind of relationship with the customers because they're at work, They want to get in, get out, get in, get out. They don't want to have a conversation most of the time. Whereas the neighbourhood cafe, you have to build a community, around the coffee, around the food. But, the amount of times that people come in not expecting that the coffee's going to be great. And they love it because I think they're surprised a lot of the time because it's consistent. So they just keep coming and they bring people and they bring more people and we make them all feel like family. So for us being in a neighborhood, because we have the connections with the people, it's also the con is that you are less likely to increase prices, do anything that, shakes the boat. And you don't want to upset anyone because you have those relationships with them. It's even something as simple as increasing the price of coffee by 50 cents. We get really anxious about it because we're not sure how it's going to be received. 9 times out of 10, it's fine. No one cares. Half the people don't even notice. But when they do and they make a comment about it, it's like we've been shot. We take it personally.
They feel betrayed a lot of the time.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen that often. It just takes one.
Well, and just to be clear for people, when Carol says con, she's not conning anybody. She means con in the perspective of pros and cons, right? Like this is the downside of something for anyone who may not have picked that up. The interesting thing that we're all experiencing, no matter where we are, is price sensitivity in the coffee industry. The thing that is has always plagued our industry is that people have expected coffee to be cheap.
Yeah.
What's the landscape like now in Sydney from that perspective?
I still think, I mean, look, I still think they expect it to be cheap. I had a conversation with a customer just the other day because they read an article about how the coffee price is going up. And I think, like I've said to you before, the fact that the media is picking up on it has helped a little bit, because in the past, there's been no media coverage about the price of coffee or the coffee industry at all. So the customers don't know anything about it, and we're the ones that have to sit there explaining it to them. And so the media coverage has helped a little, but I think people are thinking, because our price is probably sitting way lower than what it's saying in the media, they're still not expecting that it's going to happen.
There is very much a disconnect between the $5 or $6 or $7 that people are charging for a latte in Sydney, and the media saying, excuse me, by the end of this year, the price is going to be at $12.
Yes, that's right.
It's a massive disconnect that really does stoke fear.
Yeah.
The challenge with that is that because they're not helping people understand what's ahead in 2025, the reality of it could be that the coffee does get to $12 for some businesses.
Yeah.
Now, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that customers are aware. Like, if we take a landscape of what's happening in the coffee industry, customers are aware that things are changing.
Yes.
And there's different types of businesses who are all in deep competition. Like, whether you're neighbourhood cafes or whether you're in downtown or in the city has more competition, but you're now, as a neighbourhood cafe, competing between them drinking a cafe at home and them brewing a coffee at home. So competition is going up, right? Are you experiencing that, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are people that this year or in the last few months, we haven't seen them as often. And, you know, of course, we say, how have you been? Where have you been? Is everything okay? And then they'll just say, oh, we bought a coffee machine, because everyone is trying to keep costs down. The cost of living is ridiculous. So, and we don't make them feel bad in any way. We just say, I understand. We understand. What else can we say?
Whereas in previous years, like, we would have gone, but what do you mean? Like, do you know how hard it is for us to keep these prices so low? Right?
Yeah. And we say to them, I've said to them, what industry have you seen the price of something increase by 20%? The cost, like the price of coffee 20 years ago was $3.50, and now it's at $5. That's not much.
So I just want to invite coffee producers who are listening to please hear what Carol just said, because, Carol, what we're having is coffee producers, rightfully, are very confused why the price of coffee is only just over the past 30 years has barely increased, and now it's started to increase, like the price of the coffee from the farm and what they're getting paid. And they see in that the price that we're selling a cup of coffee is like a double for one cup what they sell per pound. And they're like, how come cafe owners must be driving around in Lamborghinis?
Yeah.
Is that true?
So there's more added on. I wish.
Right? This is what I keep trying to help people understand, is that there's a mirror that's going on between the cafe owner and the coffee producer that is playing out in real time, where the cafe owner is getting squeezed. And you're a cafe owner who's doing well. You guys are much beloved in your industry, in your neighborhood. You're getting repeat visits. You're established in the neighborhood. Revenue's coming in, but everything's going up.
Yeah. everything.
And this disconnect is the confusing part of the supply chain. Why? Because everybody's taking their cut in the middle, and there's nothing actually left for the beginning of the supply chain and the end of the supply chain.
Right. Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of ignorance still out there, though, even though, there's a little bit more information out there. I think mostly there's a lot of ignorance with the consumer. I mean, I had someone say to me, "Oh, but doesn't it just cost 30 cents for a coffee?"
Maybe in the 90s. Maybe in the 90s.
Yeah. Maybe for just the shot in the 90s. Of the cup or the milk.
Or the labour or the rent or the insurance or any of that.
Nothing. No, they don't think that that's going to be added to it. It's just the cost of the good to them.
Well, and for me, the concerning part is that it's not just the consumer that thinks that way. It's people who are getting into cafes.
Yes,
and opening cafes that think that way. Talk to us about that.
Look, over the years, I've had a lot of people tell me they want to open a cafe because they think, as you would get way more than me, because they think it's the glamorous thing, that they're just going to turn up and sit outside and have coffee with their friends.
If only.
Yeah, actually, my friends come and visit and I tell them I can't talk.
Hello, I'm one of those friends that turns up and she's like, I'll bring my mum there and Tony will be the person who's entertaining us and they'll I'm going to go and get my own muffin, thanks very much. I'll walk up and make my own coffee. Anyway, go ahead.
So what were we saying about?
We were talking about people who come in and want to open a cafe.
Oh, yes. And they asked me, I want to open a cafe. I want to retire from my job and open a cafe. And I said, you're definitely not retiring. You're ramping up.
How hilarious is that?
Yeah. And then they go, oh, how hard could it be? I'll just do this. I'll just get a barista and I'll just get, and I said, you're not just doing anything, they don't understand the difficulty in it. Because I say exactly that. This is what it costs for a coffee. And then they realize that they haven't done the calculation, so there's this misconception that hospitality, opening a cafe or restaurant, especially a cafe, is the way out of something else, and they're the wrong ones that are doing that because they don't calculate anything or the costs. They only see how busy we are. They don't see that what's going out as well.
How many times have you called me and said, do you know any baristas looking for work?
Oh my God, many.
The stress of that.
Times I haven't called you.
Of course. I mean, and that's the thing, right? People don't understand that the most expensive part of this whole thing is the stress that you have to carry. Like the stress is costs you more in your head and your heart and your whole being. It's so taxing and ages you, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely. Completely. Even if you're not there, you're still there. You'll still get the call, this isn't working or this happened or blah, 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 You can't. We open 7 days, so my mind doesn't rest at all. And
this is where I want to talk. Go on.
I was going to say, that's the thing. Other thing that people don't understand is you don't rest.
No. Well, and this is where I want to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome and who should be doing this and who shouldn't be doing this. You've been doing this hospitality for 17 years. And folks, to give you a little bit of insight, Carol sends me a message this morning and she says to me, listen, I've got imposter syndrome. I'm like, bitch, are you serious? You've been doing this for 17 years and you've still got imposter syndrome? And that's my point is the people who I look up to in this industry, like you, like Sharon, like Noah, like so many other people around the world, I look up to what you guys are doing, and all of you still think you haven't earned your right to say that you're leaders in the industry or that you're doing well. And it's really comforting to me to see that people who have been doing it for so long and doing it well, who have struggled and all of that kind of stuff, still think that they haven't earned their right to call themselves experts. And yet you've got these young guns that are coming in, or old guns that are coming in and saying, as you were saying, this is like their way out of the hard life. They're coming into something that's meant to be, you know, they're going to just sashay through the cafe every few days, and they're going to like pull a barista, pull a shot and act like a barista and post it on social media and like, bitch, are you serious? This is what you think what we do is all about.
Yeah.
And so tell me where the imposter syndrome comes from, because there's a lot of people who are listening to this that are going to say, that's exactly how I feel.
I suppose because, you know, I think I know what to do. You know, if somebody, like the last 2 cafes I've had, I walked in and the cafes weren't doing well at all. We built them both up and had built them to take triple what they were taking. So I know exactly what to do, but then if somebody spoke to me about it or to teach somebody else how to do it, I can walk in somewhere and fix it, I reckon, quite quickly. But to then explain how I did it to someone, I find that that's where my imposter syndrome is, you know.
Okay. Have you always had successful businesses?
Yes.
All the cafes you've opened were successful?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think it's because also everything I've done is calculated beforehand. So never did I walk in blindly. I always walked in with the right numbers. I'm an ex-maths teacher. So I needed to take, you know, if I took the risk, what's the worst case scenario, best case scenario? So I always did. So I'm very, very good with numbers. But then I can't say I'm an expert at anything. You know, they say a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
That's me.
Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
Okay. This is what I think that you're suffering from. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is where somebody who knows so much about something becomes so aware that there's still so much that they don't know that they play their expertise down, even though they may know more than the majority of people. And then somebody who's new to something, who knows a tiny little bit, just enough to be dangerous, they think they know everything there is because they haven't become aware of themselves in relation to other people, right? This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I think your imposter syndrome is coming from the fact that you are so aware of how dangerous it is to get comfortable in this industry because you've built things that have been really successful, but you've also built things that could have not been successful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that awareness has kept you humble, and you've watched people around you lose everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas most people come into this when they're fresh and they're newbies, and these people who want to just sashay through their, you know, really beautiful $1 million fit out. You know, they're going to put everything in there and do all of that, and I'm going to get the best specialty coffee there is. These are the people who have no idea about what's ahead of them because somebody tricked them, or they believe they're in bullshit and got into it themselves.
Yeah. I've seen it.
And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, right?
Yeah. Especially when you see how much money they spend on it. You know, like I had someone once say to me they wanted to walk into a place and spend $200,000 on a fit out or $300,000 on a fit out. I said, walk in and see if it works first as it is, then put your fit out in, you know, because your fit out is not what's going to bring people in.
And anybody who has met the Salloum sisters and been to any of their businesses will understand the gravity of what it is to be treated with theirs, and you can't forget Tony, but that Syrian hospitality that you guys inject into the business. It's ever present in everything that you do. Yeah. On that note, we're going to wrap up this episode. And in the next episode, folks, we're going to talk about how 2025 is different than any other year in hospitality. So join us for that. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.